Okay, woody fragrances. What is it about woody fragrances that you guys are excited and keep asking me to do videos? I've been bored of them for a while. That's why I haven't updated my videos, but I thought I'd put together a list of woody fragrances for you guys that I consider really good. So today I'm talking about woody fragrances. Some go into a spicy direction, some go into a sheeper direction, some go into a mossy direction, aromatic fougere direction, but all considered very woody. If you want to find out what they are, please stay tuned. Thanks so much for tuning in. It's Sebastian. We are finally talking about woody fragrances. I know you guys are asking me to update the list, not focus on sandalwood or cedar or something, just an overall woody list. So this list does contain vetiver, considered woods, patchouli, considered woods, but they're not focused on those notes. So they will use those notes in addition to other woods to create a woody experience. But as I said, I am bored of woody fragrances. Just straightforward woody fragrances do get boring, so I want some excitement in it, some contrasting notes to give me more excitement to wear the fragrances. So let's go ahead and get started with the first fragrance we're talking about. This is not a ranked list, sort of ranked towards the front of the list, but it's not really a ranked list. I'm just giving you a collection of 12 fragrances that I consider really great woody fragrances, and then also some bonus options after the outro. So the first fragrance we're talking about is MAITRE Parfumeur Gantier's Root de Vetiver, this one right here. It does say Root de Vetiver, so in the end it is a woody vetiver fragrance, but it's really nicely done, very big and beefy and intense take on vetiver with loads of wood. So it's not only that kind of earthy, kind of damp vetiver note, which also has the grassy characteristics, but there's some nondescript woods in here as well, along with sandalwood. So it's these woody notes that kind of pretty much dominate the fragrance, but you do have some contrast of some green notes in there and some black currant coming in, along with some musk to kind of like take it away from being one-dimensional, becoming a straightforward woody fragrance. It's a really great offering from this house. It's not one of their most popular. Their most popular is Ombre Presso, and they have a few other ambers, but this one is kind of under the radar, and I think if you're into the idea of very earthy, rooty kind of vetiver with woods and some green notes, musk and fruits, definitely check out Root de Vetiver. So just to also let you know, the black currant is there, but it's not in your face. It's not a fruity fragrance. It's a nice contrast to all the woods that are in here. So I consider this a really great woody fragrance. If you haven't tried it, please definitely try that one. So the next one is from the house of Sospiro. It's Bel Canto, this one right here. This is a house that's pretty hyped right now. It used to be a sister house of Xerjoff, and the brands separated, and now Sospiro's on their own. Xerjoff obviously is their own brand, but I feel like they have similar following to Xerjoff, and they do some really great fragrances. I have an overall video on the house with this particular fragrance. Go catch that video if you haven't caught it. But this is a really, really awesome woody fragrance that's also kind of powdery and also musky. This one does focus on sandalwood. The sandalwood is pretty prominent, but it's also mixed in with other woods, so it's not necessarily just about that kind of creamy sandalwood note. There are other woods in here, but they're a bit nondescript, maybe cedar and things like that. There's loads of musk in here. It's a musky fragrance. That's what I like about this one. Musky and powdery at the same time with an overdose of woods. But don't worry, this is the thing I'm worried about usually, because it does get one-dimensional. Vanilla comes in to kind of sweeten things up a little bit and make it not necessarily just an all woody experience. And they do have vetiver, amber, citruses, and some earthy notes in here as well for a really great, robust, intense, really take on woods, powdery, musky, a bit sweet vanillic, but very woody. So this is Bel Canto from the house of Sospiro. Check it out if you don't know that one. The one I really love from that house is Dolce Melodia, but that fragrance is good too. Moving on to the house of Liquid Imaginaire. This is Bloody Wood. Are you guys familiar with Bloody Wood? So Bloody Wood is about woods and wine. There's wine leaves in here. So this one to me acts like if you've ever been to wine country and you've gone to where the barrels are and the wine is aging and there's that smell in the air, that kind of fermented grape fruitiness with all that oak that's in there. That's exactly what you get with this one. Very interesting take on woods. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about with woods. Woods alone just get boring for me. I want some excitement thrown in, something different with the woods, but it is very fruity and it's also very woody. And the fruits and the red wine that are in here, and the wine lees create that kind of fruity, almost fermented kind of a vibe to give you that kind of wine-like experience. But there's loads of oak barrel, oak note in here as well, which is from the oak barrel and what's at the wineries where the wine is aged, or the grapes are aged to turn into wine. So if that kind of an experience, I love drinking wine, and I kind of have a similar experience when I'm drinking wine. I can pick out notes and things like that. And I love the experience of a fragrance that smells like wine, because in the end, smell, taste kind of go together, and I do it with wine, I do it with perfume, and here I'm experiencing it with a woody fragrance that's on the wine fruitiness side. So either way, Bloody Wood from the house of Les Liquids Imaginaires is a really, really great offering. If you don't know that one, do check it out. Moving on to a local San Francisco indie perfumer, INEKE. This is IDYLLWILD. Here we're going into a aromatic fougere direction with woods. It's fir, cypress, rhubarb, grapefruit, tea, lavender, woods, and artemisia. So there's lots of aromatics here. It's nicely contrasted with all the woods, and you've got fir here. That kind of forest pine-like smell of the fir note is really, really prominent here. So basically it's a fougere fragrance with all the woods and the fir, because that fir or pine has a kind of a very distinct aromatic greenish kind of a woody smell, and so here it's very, very prominent, mixed in with a fougere accord because it has lavender, and it also has grapefruit and rhubarb to kind of, you know, freshen things up a bit. But in the end, it's very woody, but more leaning woods and aromatics together for a really, really gorgeous fougere-like combination that's not necessarily smelling like shaving soap, but then again, it is, because lavender can take on that kind of a smell. And here they've done a really, really great job. If you don't know IDYLLWILD, definitely check it out. Did I mention the name already? I kind of forgot if I mentioned it, but this is IDYLLWILD from the house of INEKE. If you haven't tried that, do try it. I think it's a great, great fougere that's very on the woody side. So next, we're going to a fragrance from another indie niche house all the way up from Portland, Oregon. This is Imaginary Authors in its Memoirs of a Trespasser. Once again, a unique take on woods. This is a very resinous take on woods with vanillic notes. So it's Madagascar vanilla, Guaiac wood, myrrh, bergamot, benzoin, ambrette seeds, and oak barrels. So it's the idea of the oak barrels and the Guaiac wood which makes it very woody. Plus there's the resins of myrrh and benzoin, gives you that whole resinous vibe. And then vanilla comes in to sweeten things up a little bit. But there's musky edge about it with the ambrette seeds and some freshness from the bergamot. So for me, this is kind of like a sweeter take on Le Labo's Patchouli. If you've ever smelled that fragrance and smelled this side by side, you will see some similarities, I think. But whereas that one is very much on the birch end, making it a very smoky, charred smell, here it's not that, but the rest of it is. So there's a bit of that kind of sweetness, resinous touch in that patchouli from Le Labo, but without that smoke and charred effect that's in there. It's a really great fragrance from this house, one that I wasn't really a big fan of, but it's grown on me. I've come to appreciate it, and I like its unique characteristic, combining resins, vanillic notes, and woods together to give you this kind of like dense, very textural wear when you're wearing it. It's a very unique fragrance. So it's Imaginary Authors, Memoirs of a Trespasser. Next, moving on to a French house, Ex Nihilo's French Affair, this one right here. So this is a Quinton Biche creation, and it's a really great take on a chypre, but very woody. So it is focusing on vetiver, and there's also cedarwood here, and there's oakmoss. So we've got all these woods notes, but patchouli comes in as well, and typically found in a lot of chypre fragrances. This is definitely a masculine take on a chypre. It's very, very, very masculine. I think it's the vetiver, the patchouli, and the oakmoss together, plus that Atlas cedarwood, that really takes it into a very woody direction. But don't worry, there's some more feminine or some non-woody notes that come in here to kind of balance out the fragrance. But in the end, it wears very dusty, woody, a bit smoky, but lots of vetiver. Vetiver can have that kind of smoky characteristic, but you have some rose in here, some violet leaves, some lychee fruit and bergamot to kind of freshen things up a little bit. Really great offering. I didn't realize how good this is. Sexy. It's super, super sexy, and kind of a woody fragrance I would pull for over and over again. So this is French Affair from the house of Ex Nihilo. Next, moving on to a figgy woody fragrance and focusing on the cedarwood. This is Atelier MATERI's latest release, CEDRE FIGALIA. For me, this is a really great offering from this house. Sure, it will remind you a little bit of Philosophes from the house of Diptyque. whereas that goes into that coconutty direction. This one doesn't have that. It's more woods and cedar wood, but the greenness from the fig leaves, and there's also spinach in here, are so unique when you wear it. It's really great. I love the spinach in here. It gives you this very interesting green, I don't know, leafiness, but more of like the inside of a leaf rather than the outside. I don't know if that makes sense. More like a really thick leaf where you're experiencing what's inside. The texture of the spinach comes off very potent in here. And matched with the fig leaves, it's a really nice green contrast against the woods in here. Really beautiful creation from Celine Perdriel, and she did a great job on this one. I really love it. And if you've been bored of Philosycus, because this does remind me of Philosycus, but like I said, the greenness of the fig leaves and the spinach really almost give me more of like a three-dimensional experience, whereas the diptyque is just, I've been used to it so much, it just comes off very flat and very much muted and blended in a way that it mutes everything. Here, you can actually physically experience the different notes together. You can separate them, which is a really great experience here. So CEDRE FIGALIA from the house of Atelier MATERI is a really great offering. If you don't know it, please do check it out. It's a great house. And speaking of woody fragrances that are not boring, we're speaking about a cedar fragrance. A cedar of Lebanon is basically what the cedar is from. This is from the house of Chabot. It's Cedre Noble. This was actually recently featured in a Scent Club Mystery Box 2, and it's a great take on a cedar fragrance. Cedar smell is really great as far as a wood goes, especially when you're in the cedar forest. You can smell that kind of fragrant, woody, aromatic qualities that I really love. But it's cedar, woods, pine needles, sandalwood, smoke, cardamom, nutmeg, wormwood, black pepper, red thyme. There's enough spices and aromatics here, and some greenness in here, like the wormwood, to give you a nice contrast with all the woods in here. The pine needles also creates this very, you know, like the pine forest I'm talking about, or the cedar forest that I'm talking about. Really a great combination of notes. This is the kind of woody fragrance that I'm excited about, where I can smell not only the woods, but all these other things that come in to give you this unique contrast against the woods. And then there's smoke in here to give it a smoky vibe. And then just imagine you're walking into this pine forest or a cedar forest, and there's a cabin. You can see some smoke escaping out of it. You can smell all of this stuff. Really a great visual when you're wearing this. This is the kind of visual I get with this one. So this is Cedre Noble from the house of Chabot. If you don't know that one, do check it out. But moving on to the house of Nuit Nomade, it's Bohemian Soul, this one right here. So this one is also a really great take on a woody fragrance. It's a smooth woody fragrance, and also a bit smoky and resinous and musky, and that's the kind of notes that I like contrasted with the sandalwood or any kind of a wood notes that are in a fragrance. Sandalwood, Guaiac wood together creates for a woody overdose, but this does get powdery with the iris, some aromatics with the Artemisia, and of course the resins of the olibanum and myrrh does provide a bit of smokiness. There's definitely some smokiness in here, contrasted against the woods, and it gets really nicely musky. It's a great fragrance. It's a bit calming, but the Artemisia and the olibanum give you a bit of a excitement coming in, and then creating that powderiness really with the iris blends really well with the muskiness, because muskiness does get powdery as well. Really nice offering. Again, one of my favorite houses out of France. Nuit Nomade is a great house. If you guys don't know this house, do check it out. Their fragrances are awesome. They're not overly expensive. They're a really great niche house. Check out my video for that house if you don't know much about Nuit Nomade, because I highly recommend that brand. Next, moving on to the house of Essential Parfums, it's Bois Imperial, this one right here. So this is a Bois Imperial from Essential Parfums, a really great fragrance, and once again, not very expensive. This is actually a less expensive house than Nuit Nomade, and this is also kind of reminding me a little bit of a combination of Ganymede with B683 from the house of Marc-Antoine Barrois. But this is different enough that you can kind of get away with having both, but some people consider this a great budget alternative to Ganymede. But this is Thai basil, Timut pepper, Haitian vetiver, Georgie wood, which is a type of cedar wood, Petalia, Akigala wood, Indonesian patchouli, ambrofix. It's super sexy and wears really great. One of the best woody fragrances out there. I really love the way this came out, and definitely worth having in your collection, because it's 100 ml under $100. What's not to love about that price point and the quality of this fragrance? Let me know if you're a fan of this one. As you can see, I've worn quite a bit. It does go down pretty fast, but it is really a great woody fragrance. So this is Essential Parfums Bois Imperial. Next, moving on to the house of Ormond Jane, it's Evernia, this one right here. See, I'm trying to make this list very unique in the woody types of woody fragrances that I'm featuring because, again, woody fragrances can get boring. I want some different things added to them to make them exciting. And here with Avernia, it's a mossy take on woods, and I absolutely love mossy fragrances. Really, really love them. Oakmoss is a great note. Too bad we can't use too much of it nowadays. But this is Oakmoss with pink pepper, orris root, cashmeran, rose, and pepper. And there's something very unique about this one. To me, it smells like a Christmas tree a little bit. Something with a combination of the notes, the oak moss they're using in here, whatever amount they're using, with the pink pepper and all the other notes together, comes off pine-like. Like a Christmas tree, a pine tree. Really a wonderful offering. It's woody, it's spicy, it's peppery, and also musky, and a great, great fragrance. Absolutely love this one. One of my favorites from this house, I discovered it in their store when I visited London a couple of years ago, 3-4 years ago, and it was an instant love. And I hadn't smelled it anywhere, and loved the idea of oak moss or mossy notes and fragrances, and an idea of a woody, mossy fragrance, which is one of my favorite things. So this is Avernia from the house of Ormond Jane. And I'm ending the list with my favorite. The last several are definitely top 5 for sure. And then this one is my number 1 favorite. It's from the house of Javoy. It's Incident Diplomatique. It's been a while since I've pulled this one. Man, it's good. I used to get compliments when I used to wear this one. People used to stop me on the street and say, "What are you wearing? It smells great." What I like about this one is the overdose of vetiver with patchouli. Nice contrast to earthy woody notes together. Really, really great. They've also thrown in some sandalwood here, a bit of warm spice from nutmeg, and then of course some juicy, bright, citrusy touches of mandarin. And the combination is amazing. Really long lasting, smells great, lingering power because we've got the patchouli. It lingers and lingers and lingers and mixes with your chemistry, creates a very sexy sillage, and people will stop you and ask you what you're wearing. It's a masculine offering, but they have another fragrance at this house at Javoy called Private Label, which is much more masculine. This is masculine, but I think a woman can totally pull this one off, and it's a really, really one of the best from this house. It's my second favorite, Incident Diplomatique next to Psychedelic. I love it. And definitely worth for you guys to try if you haven't tried Incident Diplomatique. So this is Incident Diplomatique from Javoy. Hands down one of the best woody fragrances out there on the market, and that's the list for you guys. What are your thoughts on these woody fragrances? Do you enjoy them? Do you have a favorite woody fragrance that I did not mention here in this video? Do let me know what it is. Put a comment down. I'm trying to focus on niche. This is definitely a niche list, not a designer list, but sure, put down a designer woody fragrance if that's all you wear currently. But let me know if you have any questions or comments. Please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye. Alright, I'm giving you a bonus option as I always do, and I have to bring this one up because it's definitely a woody fragrance, and it's a molecular woody fragrance focusing on ISOE Super, which is a synthetic note that smells like cedar with a little bit of sandalwood touched in and mixed in with it. This is Molecule 1 for eccentric molecules. If you like the simplicity of this type of a woody fragrance, definitely go with it. It's not only worn on its own as a, molecular kind of a skin scent, but also you can layer it with other fragrances to boost up or intensify or prolong the life of other fragrances. I think it's perfect for those kind of situations. The only thing about this fragrance is sometimes you can be anosmic to it, and I get complaints people can't smell it, and I had that happen to me when I first smelled this back in 2013. I couldn't smell it. Sprayed it and sprayed it and sprayed it until probably about 6-7 times later I finally got it. It is really super potent as a smell now, but some people say it smells like alcohol, not they can't smell anything. Definitely try this as a great woody fragrance, but if you're not into the idea of this kind of minimalistic, molecular, simplistic skin scent, you can also go with something like the version that has patchouli in it, or mandarin, or black tea, or iris, ginger, or guaiac wood. These are basically this fragrance with those notes added to it to give you a bit of a, a distinct smell in addition to the ISOE Super. Some people don't like the smell. It's used quite a bit in fragrances as a base note, but here it is on its own, ISOE Super. It's basically, like I said, cedar or sandalwood. More cedar, a little bit of sandalwood thrown in for this kind of a smooth, woody, musky, ambery ride. Really great offering. This is Molecule 1 from the House of Eccentric Molecules. If you don't know that one, please do definitely check it out. I think it's definitely worth it for a woody lover if you are. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. Stay tuned for another video tomorrow. Bye-bye.